Hello, my name is Nathan, and this is a story about my humble beginnings as a digital nomad to living with the elite of Vietnam. My story started 3 years ago. I just broke up with my girlfriend and I was feeling kind of lost. I also felt like my life was really boring. All I did is sit at home all day and work on the computer. I was still $22,000 in student loan debt, and I was remembering a past experience where I was playing digital nomad in Chiang, Thailand for 3 weeks. And it was one of the most exciting moments of my life at that point. I knew this is what I wanted to do, so I sold everything that I own, put everything that I cared about into 2 suitcases and a backpack, and I booked a one-way ticket to Chiang Mai, Thailand. My goal was to live cheap and pay off my debt. The first year was a complete roller coaster. At the top part of the roller coaster, it was the most exciting year of my life, but at the bottom, it was filled with personal growth, reinventing myself, lots of mistakes, lessons, and problem solving. I found out that moving every 1 to 2 months was initially exciting, but after a while it just becomes exhausting. My laptop stopped working, I lost my biggest client, and I had to overcome the language barrier. My first mistake was cheaping out too much on my first Airbnb. It ended up being the worst place I've ever lived in my entire life. But on Airbnb, the photos did look quite nice, but when I got there, expectations did not meet reality. The wallpaper was peeling off the walls. I found a cockroach in my house. It smelt bad in there, and a cat would break into my house and leave me a dead mouse in front of my door. My first lesson was don't cheap out too much on your accommodation. Book a short-term comfortable place, and then look for a long-term place in person, because pictures can be very deceiving. The whole reason why I moved to Thailand was for their amazing co-working spaces. It's a great networking opportunity. You get to meet digital nomads from all over the world. It's really easy to make friends, and it has a real sense of community and belonging. It's a really comfortable place to work with fast internet and 3 different locations, and it was quite affordable too at $150 a month. I ended up ditching that place, and I just stopped by different condotels. Found this place at the bottom there. Condotels are really popular in Asia. They're kind of like apartments that you can rent for any amount of time. In Southeast Asia, it's a huge renter's market because there's a way oversupply. These are my tips on finding accommodation from 3 years of experience. You can still use Airbnb to find leads, but now I always ask to see the place in person first. I've dodged staying at really terrible places so many times by doing this. Or, if you can't see it in person, I suggest getting a video walkthrough. There's a little way to trick the AI into giving them your phone number. You just type 604 and then a word, 910, and then another word, and then a number, and then a word, and then you can negotiate in person. Always ask if they manage other places. Many of them are just property managers, so all of a sudden you can get a way bigger list of places to check out. My number one place for finding accommodation is Facebook Marketplace and Facebook groups. You can just go on there and write a message saying you're looking for a place, this is my budget, this is what I need, and tons of people will message you back. There's also tons of people posting rooms for rent on there. Asking people you meet if they know of any good places. I've found some real gems that way as well. And co-living spaces were really good before COVID. But the problem is Wi-Fi usually sucks, so you want to make sure that you get a wired connection. Make sure to get one of these little dongles here if your computer doesn't have an internet port. And then get a short-term contract, and then you can always extend it and stay longer if you like the place. After that, the next few months was great, slowly climbing to the most intense part of the roller coaster. I had lots of work, fun adventures on the weekends. I met a girl and started spending way too much money and forgot about my initial goal about paying off my student loans. My mistake was not saving for the rainy days that are just around the corner. Also took a 1 month trip to Japan, lived in a capsule hotel for about $500 a month. You basically sleep in a little tiny coffin, but they have really nice coat areas for you to share. And then I would take the train every day to downtown Osaka and work at a co-working space called The Links, and it was like $167 a month. These are my tips for overcoming the language barrier. I mean, many people do speak English, but you can't really expect them to be at a native level, and a lot of people don't speak any English at all. I suggest at least trying to learn some basics like hello, things you need regularly like food, drink, water, etc. Numbers and money is really helpful. And I found that the most useful phrase is where is blank, because then you can just show them a picture on your phone of what you're looking for. Make sure to make local friends that speak your language, and then they can help teach you their language as well. Google Translate is not exactly perfect, but it can be quite useful. Photo Translate app can be really good for things like menus, signs, documents, anything like that. But my number one strategy is it's actually quite amazing what you can do with body language. You just act out the situation combined with really simple keywords, and people can understand you that way. You want to make sure that people understand you. Lots of people just say yes or no, but they have absolutely no idea what you said. So you need patience and ask for clarification. Up next was my biggest challenge as a digital nomad. My largest client cut my budget to 2% of what it was. They had to shift financial priorities to survive. I lost my debit card, my computer broke, and the computer store said it was going to take 2 months to fix. I had a trip booked to Bali soon, and I had to leave Thailand because of my visa. At this point, I was in panic mode, living off borrowed money. I ended up having to get a second laptop. In the end, it's actually not that bad of an idea to have two laptops. So if one stops working, you just switch to the other one while you get it fixed. You always want to make sure that you have access to cash. Best is, of course, savings, but you need to have at least credit. And you want to have multiple backup bank accounts and credit cards in case you lose one. And don't rely so much on one client for so much of your income. I tried co-living in Bali, a little place called Bali Bustle, and it's basically a co-working space with living space upstairs. They even had a restaurant and room service, and you can order a cappuccino to your room when you wake up. The co-living space was $673 a month. But the problem was I didn't really have much work to do, and I was burning money, so it was absolutely no time to waste. I had to work on my marketing plan. In the beginning, I tried lots of things, applied for hundreds of jobs online, worked on the SEO of my website, made a video and put it on YouTube, tried cold emailing companies. But the thing that gave me the greatest return on investment was calling people in my network every single day. I wasn't too pushy or aggressive. I was more conversational, just asking them questions, showing them my work, asking them what they're working on. For gatekeepers and salespeople, I would offer them a commission on any referrals that they sent me. And I just studied and worked on personal projects, and I learned web programming like JavaScript, PHP, Python, and I would work on little projects, and then I would share them with people in my industry just so they could see what I could do. This ended up leading to a constant stream of referrals. In 2 to 3 months, my business was back to normal. After 1 year, I was just crazy busy all the time. These are the tools that I use to work with clients overseas. For file sharing and backups, I use Google Drive and Dropbox. This is really important in case your computer stops working. You need to be able to have a consistent phone number for things like two-factor authentication, and I use Skype for that, so you don't want to get locked out of your accounts. And I found that Messenger is the most reliable for calls on really slow Wi-Fi. For international money transfers, say if I had a client in America or in Germany or something like that, I usually use Wise for large amounts, and I use PayPal for recurring payments. If you need to talk on a more secure chat platform, you can use Proton Mail for secure email and Signal for secure chat. I also suggest getting a VPN. A VPN stops anyone from being able to see what you're doing online, including your internet service provider. It'll also help you go to websites that might be blocked. Like, for instance, Disney Plus is not available in Vietnam. So if I want to watch the new Star Wars, I have to use a VPN to trick my computer into thinking it's from Canada. Also had problems getting to my bank one time, and there's just certain websites that are like blocked or hard to get to in certain countries. For more interactive meetings, I use TeamViewer or Zoom. TeamViewer will actually let you control your client's computer so you can help them solve problems that way. The number one reason why digital nomads fail is because they run out of money. And I've met tons of people that failed. Many of them have no income generating skill set. They try to be a stock trader, a YouTuber, develop their own app, become a blogger, but they make absolutely no money or very little money. And the worst case scenario is I've even seen foreigners that become homeless because of this. in a foreign country, which is just terrible. And usually these digital nomads kind of like damage the reputation of all the other digital nomads. So it's definitely not good. I definitely saw a lot of homeless foreigners during COVID that were trapped and they couldn't go home. This is what I do for work. I build beautiful WordPress websites, do some web development, graphic design, and animation. If you're interested in seeing more, you can go to greenmarketing.ca. So what is allowed for work? I'm not a lawyer by any means, so this is definitely not legal advice. This is just from my personal experience. The whole digital nomad thing is kind of an illegal gray area, but generally working online is tolerated. Even the Thai embassy website says freelance with clients outside the country is okay, or managing an online store where your customers are mostly outside the country is okay. You never want to tell immigration at the airport that you're a digital nomad coming to work in their country on a tourist visa. They might not let you in. Working inside the country, like doing a job for somebody inside the country, can actually land you in deep trouble. It is illegal without a proper visa. Like you need a business visa or a work visa usually. Anything inside the country is super risky. Like doing work that a local could have done is like the worst thing. Like they really hate that. Working for somebody there, running workshops, teaching, photography, anything like that is super risky. There was even one woman that was running workshops in Thailand and she ended up getting arrested. Then I went back to Canada for Christmas, and as you know, the winters in Canada are very terrible. My stepdad is kind of difficult to be around sometimes. I was trying to figure out where I need to go next, and I really wanted to go somewhere tropical and warm, so I went on YouTube, and some guy said Da Nang, Vietnam was really good. So I applied for a 3-month visa and booked a one-way ticket there, and it ended up being one of the best decisions of my life for what's about to happen next. Basically, as soon as I got there, COVID-19 changed the world. Vietnam closed its borders super quickly, and initially I was actually trapped there. Like I couldn't actually leave even if I wanted to. But COVID wasn't all bad at first anyway. After a while, I ended up being trapped in Vietnam by choice. This is around the time where I met Mary, and it led to a lots of once-in-a-lifetime experience with no tourists in the country. It took one whole year for things to get really bad. I ended up getting residency in Vietnam. My business took off, started making really good money, paid off all my debt, and I even taught my girlfriend how to make money online, and now she travels around with me. This is how I taught my girlfriend how to work online. She told me that she really hated her job. She was only making $2.50 an hour, and we both really wanted to move to Saigon. And I told her, just quit your job and I'll try to teach you how to create your own business. At first, I suggested try a few things, see what you like, see what makes the money. She started an online store. She was a freelance marketing manager slash like mini agency and a sales manager, which ended up being the winner. This is some of the advice that I gave her is you want to sell something that's in demand, something that's really expensive so you don't have to make that many sales and has a really high need, like the customer really needs it. I just gave her some basic sales advice like don't speak over the client, listen more than you talk, spend less time convincing, more time asking questions, focus on relationships as those are key, and you don't need to take on every client. Some clients is just not worth it, it's not a good fit, so it's okay to say no. The more people you talk to every day is the more money you make. The result was she went from making $2 an hour to having $20,000 in the bank. Around this time, we got a really impressive lifestyle upgrade. Can you guess what the most expensive place I've lived in is? Not these. My crappy old apartment in Vancouver for $13.50 a month. At this time, the luxury condo and Airbnb market in Vietnam completely crashed. This is one of the most fanciest places I've ever lived. It's called Vinhome Central Park. We liked it so much that we ended up staying there for 6 months. It's in a gated community in Saigon, and it's where all the rich and famous people live. We got the master bedroom in a 3-bedroom place for $750 a month, but it was mostly empty. But the amenities of this place were absolutely crazy. Like there was private schools, private golf course, private hospital, ice rink, a massive park, a mall, a yacht club, a pool, co-working space, stores, restaurants. It literally had everything that you would ever need. Like you don't even need to leave this compound. Then we moved to a resort on Phu Quoc Island. It was basically like a cabin in the middle of the jungle with power and Wi-Fi for $450 a month. It was interesting for a short period of time, but it was really rural with lots of nature, both good and bad. So we could only like stay there for about a month. Then we moved to Nha Trang and we got a 2 bedroom luxury apartment in a tourist city that's been completely devastated. Had the most amazing view, 5 minutes from the beach, very spacious living room, and it had 2 bedrooms, so I ended up using one as an office. After that, we ended up moving back to Saigon to get hit hard with the Delta wave. This is probably like one of the most intense moments of my digital nomad experience. We ended up going into a 3 month military lockdown. We ended up getting barbed wired in our house. Yeah, we weren't allowed to leave for any reason, not even to get food. The government actually supplied us food every week. And one time they gave us frogs to eat, which was kind of interesting because I'd never had frog before. And we ended up making like some frog curry out of it. The economy almost collapsed. There was like massive food shortages, and at its peak, I guess the government just decided it's not worth it to do this anymore, and they ended the lockdown. Luckily, during this time, we had a really nice 3 bedroom luxury apartment called Eco Green Saigon. It was quite intense moving there during COVID. We were staying in a really tiny Airbnb, and we finally got the okay to move, and so we packed up everything that we owned and we got a moving truck and everything, and then we moved there, and they actually told us like when we got there, no, we can't stay there, and we had to negotiate with them very intensely, and then they finally agreed to let us move in here. We just had to go all the way downtown, get a negative COVID-19 test, and then come all the way back, and then we were finally able to get in here. But then once we were in here, we weren't allowed to leave our apartment, and we had to stay there for like 3 months. But we did get a really good discount for the first 3 months while we were in lockdown for $670, and then after the lockdown, it went up to $782. This is some of the costs of living in Southeast Asia. I mean, there's really something for every budget here, even like $5 a night hotels, all the way up to $1,600 a night 5-star villas. They have $5,000 a month 4-story mansions, but $40 a night can get you a really nice high-end Airbnb. On average, during the pandemic, I paid $450 to about $750 a month for rent. The biggest thing that you'll notice is taxis are insanely cheap in Vietnam. Like $1.50 to $3 is about the average you'll pay for a taxi, cheaper than the bus in Canada. For a really long distance, you pay about $25 an hour, so you can even take a taxi from one city to another. Meals range anywhere from like $1 to $2 for street food, $5 to $10 for an average meal, or if you go to a really nice restaurant, it could go up to about $20 to $25. You can also spend like $200 on a meal on a really fancy restaurant. They definitely have something here for every budget. I suggest renting a motorbike. It's really easy to get around that way. You can rent a motorbike for $5 to $7 a day, fill up a tank for $2.50. In Vietnam, getting a maid is a no-brainer. It only costs $5 to $10 for them to clean your whole place. Cell phone plan is usually about $5 a month, plus my Skype number, which is about $10 a month. So with my Skype number and my cell phone plan, it's about $15 a month. To fly from one city to another in Vietnam, it's usually around $100, but the cheapest I've paid for a plane ticket was $35. Shipping your stuff from one city to another, say if it's just like 2 boxes, it's about $5. Recently, we've collected too much stuff, so like the most expensive I've paid is $35 to ship all my stuff. A haircut, for a really cheap haircut, you can spend anywhere from $2.75. At a really fancy place, you can spend about $25. But if you're a woman, you can still spend a lot of money on your hair here. Is it safe in Southeast Asia? Well, let me ask you this. Is the Western world really safe? I really started to question it. In Canada and America, they have a huge drug problem. There's people like smoking crack in the streets, people doing heroin everywhere. I've been broken into several times. I've been robbed. There's homeless people everywhere, tent cities, and it's not as politically stable as it once was. In Vietnam, it's so safe that the police officers don't even usually have guns. The roads can be very dangerous though. Like there's always like tons of motorbikes on there. People are going the wrong way. People are texting and driving at the same time. People are doing all kinds of crazy things on the road. And no one stops like at a crosswalk. You just have to walk and people go around you. You do have to worry a little bit about someone snatching your phone or your purse if you're not paying too much attention, but it's not too common. I've only had it happen once and they failed miserably. Or you do have to pay attention in Vietnam. You don't want to be texting and walking as there could be a giant hole in the ground and they don't They don't necessarily like tape it off like they do in Canada. They don't really have very much safety regulation or anything like that, so you can definitely hurt yourself, but I think it's your own fault at that point. There's also, a lot of dogs, and some of them are a little angry. Vietnam is not so bad compared to other places like Thailand and Bali are really bad for dogs. And you're probably going to have stomach problems because they don't really follow the same food safe practices that they do in Canada. This is a graph of the most safest places I've ever been and the most dangerous place I've ever been as a digital nomad. Japan definitely tops the list as the safest place I've ever been. You can actually leave your laptop on a table in Starbucks, go to the bathroom for 20 minutes, come back, and expect that your laptop will still be there. It's very clean, there's very little homeless people. I've never felt unsafe in Japan. In Thailand, there was a few awkward moments, but as long as you're not getting into anything too shady, you'll be fine. Also have problems with my stomach in Thailand, and there's a little bit more angry dogs there. And then Bali, personally, I didn't feel all that safe in Bali. I stayed in Kuta, and a lot of people told me that that's not the best place to stay. There was a lot of angry rabid dogs everywhere. I was followed. Some guy electrocuted me on the beach with like a taser, like a really weak taser or something like that. I was okay, it just kind of scared me. Los Angeles is the most dangerous place I've ever been to in my entire life. Very huge drug and homeless problem. People on the streets feel angry and hostile. I had people yell at me, swear at me for absolutely no reason. Lots of crazy, like gangster-like people everywhere. Walked into Skid Row by accident, which is like their version of the downtown east side. And I was always wondering, I'm like, oh man, does this guy have a weapon? These are the pros and cons of living in Southeast Asia. The pros is it's very affordable living and it's much more developed than you think. Like when I first came to Vietnam, I didn't really expect much, and then when I got here, I was amazed by actually how developed it was. People are very friendly, it's relatively safe. Healthcare and dental is actually pretty good as long as you go with the more expensive option, and rideshare services are way better than Canada. You just hit a button on your phone and a taxi comes and picks you up in 2 minutes. Some of the cons is the government is a little bit more authoritarian than Canada. Like there's no freedom of speech, no protesting, no saying anything bad about the government, nothing like that. No trucker protests here. It's much more polluted than Canada. You can't drink the water, and there's a real lack of food safe. The trade-off is instead of your wallet hurting, your stomach is hurting sometimes. There's a bit of a language barrier, and it's really hard to fully immigrate here. Like eventually you'll have to go somewhere else. These are some of the long stay visa options that are available during COVID. Thailand, as of February 1st, brought back test and go for the fully vaccinated. You can just go to the Thai consular website to apply. They also have the Phuket sandbox model that lets you stay on the island for 7 nights, and then after 7 nights you can go wherever you want. They also have the STV visa, aka the long stay visa, and it lets you stay 90 days, plus you can extend it multiple times. The visa only costs like $76 as well. Vietnam is a little harder to get into right now, but it is possible. You can get in here with a 3-month business visa and then apply for a 2-year visa once you're here. But we are planning to fully open March 15th. I've heard Bali is the easiest place to get into. I have lots of friends that ended up moving there. You get a 2-month business visa, but you can just continuously extend it from what people are telling me. It's called the Indonesian B211A visa, but you must have COVID-19 insurance. My friend said he used evisabali.com and he got his visa in a couple days by ordering the express service. But this information is changing all the time. Make sure you do your own research. That's it for my presentation. If you want to follow my adventure, you can check me out on YouTube at cratetravel.tv. I'm also there on Instagram under the same name. Feel free to ask me any questions in the comments below. Thanks for watching my presentation.